Ready?
Ready.
1,
2,
2,
3,
3, go.
Okay.
I think it was a little bit. It's fine.
How you doing, Gil?
Doing pretty good. Trying to find software to edit this podcast that we're doing here.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit before we got started here. We could do a little quick recap. I don't know. Maybe we'll cut this, but what have you been using up until now, Gil?
I'm using GarageBand now, but since I moved, we've been doing the 2 tracks, and it's been really difficult for me to edit both tracks while I'm going, and maybe I'm not doing something right. That's entirely possible. But before this, we've only had one file to edit, so I think I'm just kind of merge them and just take it back to one file to edit until I find a better software.
That's a way. You're gonna lose the ability to edit out. When sometimes when you're talking, I'm like, yeah, and I don't. Do we want that in there? Like the little approval, because we can take it out if it's on a separate track, but it's also a lot of work. And
yeah, and I cough a lot, and I accidentally talk over you sometimes.
Yeah,
so I'm trying to edit all those things out. So I did a quick pass and got those things out. So I'll probably merge it and then edit the rest as one file, but we'll see.
Okay. Well, current state of the apps here. We've got what is it called? GarageBand, right? And that's kind of the default and the free thing that comes with Macs. You've got Audacity, which it looks all right, but it's...
Yeah, I've been having problems with that too. It adds static to my files.
It just looks rough, yeah. And but it does have some noise cancellation stuff, which is cool.
Yeah.
And then I guess some of the other possibilities, you got Ferrite, which is the app, and I was pretty confused by it when I tried that out. But then the two other things are, if you get the Apple, well, I guess they're sold separately if you're not getting the education bundle, but in the education bundle, there's Final Cut and there's Logic, and or Logic Pro 10 or X.
Actually, my wife is going to be back in school here in a month, so maybe she can buy it for me.
Yeah, I really bet she could. And it's great because Final Cut is it's not meant for podcast editing, but honestly I found it to work pretty great, and it has audio cleanup things, and it has just, you can make it if there's a gap, it snaps in, you can't have an empty space, which is pretty nice, which is the opposite kind of what I found with GarageBand.
Well, I would only want to snap at certain times because like we said, if we want to edit out a cough or something, I don't want that to snap because then the timing will be all off.
That's true.
And I tried to use iMovie a little bit, and it was just throwing my brain off because I know that it's meant for video. So I just went back to GarageBand. Right.
Well, the killer feature that I care most about, there's a lot of little things. I want the audio to snap. I want it to just maximize so that, a lot of them by default will just kind of waste half the screen because the little baby audio track. And I want the cursor to stay in the middle. I don't want it to be when it's recording or when it's playing back that it's possible for it to go off screen. That's little stuff. But the big thing that I really care about here is I want to be able to speed up playback, as if you're listening to this thing and people do 2 times speed and 3 times speed. Just for the first run through, that is super useful because you hear the places where you're oh yeah, let's stop here, and then you just chop it, and then you get through it in an hour and 20 minutes, which is...
Yeah, and it's okay, I want to edit this podcast that we recorded for 2 hours. Now I've got to listen to entirely 2 hours in real time, which is makes me not want to edit it sometimes. So I need something that can do 2x.
Yeah, at least 2x. I really so Final Cut, you can speed it up by whatever you want, and it's, again, not really meant for this, so it's a little bit rougher of a process. But so I switched to Logic here, and it has a thing called Verispeed, which allows you pretty much to do exactly that. Just you can toggle 2 times speed on and off.
Oh, okay.
And and that's super useful, except that it won't let you go, for some reason. This is supposed to be professional software. For some reason, it caps out at 2x. You can't go past plus 100% or 2 times the speed, which is really annoying because I just feel like that's such an arbitrary cutoff for no reason.
Yeah, and it seems kind of crazy to me too, though, that like all this audio editing software is just for it's like made for music, which is fine. You know, songs are more popular than podcasts, but why is there not like a good, reliable podcast editing software?
Well, I think that's what Ferrite is trying to be, and maybe it's great. It hasn't clicked with me yet. And Anchor that we host the podcast on, the app just allowed editing in the iPad version, which is pretty cool. Just the fact that you can. I don't know how great it is, but this brings me to the point that I wanted to make, which is I really think that podcast editing, it's not hard. What I want it to do basically is just I want it to play back to me, and I want to be able to control the speed, and I just want to do little chops and take segments out basically, and maybe some audio cleanup stuff. And I really feel like this is an awesome opportunity where an iPhone app could do better than a computer. Like, not function and barely work. Like, I think it would work a lot better to just have gestures than to be like screwing around with a keyboard.
Yeah, well, especially with like the Apple Pencil, because when you want to do like a splice in a very specific spot, maybe you want to like cut off, maybe you like repeat yourself, like I just kind of did.
Mm-hmm.
You want to cut off the first repeat, like you need like kind of really specific cuts there, and that would be a really nice place for an Apple Pencil to just quickly tap, highlight, delete, and like drag over. Like there are some really cool gestures there, like differences between the pencil and the finger doing different things.
Yeah, I could see that. My dream is kind of like, imagine if I could go about my day as if I were listening to a podcast, but actually I'm editing it. So very kind of, not super involved kind of thing. And what I think of immediately is, so Snapchat has done some pretty interesting things with interfaces where they actually just updated the app so that now there's like proper trimming of a video, and you don't just, I don't know if you're familiar, but you used to be able to record 10-second increments and then delete any of the 10-second increments, and that was like a form of editing. But they've now actually allowed you to trim the video that you shoot. And they've always had really interesting editing tools. Like, they have the healing brush essentially in Photoshop, where you can like you tap on something and it just disappears basically,
Oh yeah.
because it's like some algorithm and it sees what's around the thing that you tapped on, and it just goes away. So it's really advanced. But Snapchat obviously is not for that as much either. So
Yeah, I haven't used Snapchat a whole lot, so I'm not entirely up to date on the new features. But I mean, audio editing, like you said, they're very simple tasks. It's like
yeah,
playback speed, and then like I want to cut it here.
yeah.
Like you don't need to get into like CGI or any specific thing, like the millions of possible things you could do in video editing.
Well, the other thing that I've found to be really cool, and I've only seen one app really that has ever done it, is it's like punch in is what it's called technically, like punch in of audio. And so what that means is you record something, and then say you want to like pick up and like you mess up and you want to start recording again. But say you want to pick up where you left off basically. So what I want the thing to do is count me in and play back the audio that I just recorded. But then once it runs out of audio, it just starts recording me basically, so that you can really seamlessly, you could even talk along with yourself, and then you just hear, and you get into like the flow. And then once it goes into recording, you get a smooth transition.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And there was an app called, I don't think it's even really supported anymore, but there was an app called Video Star that was like for making music videos. And so it would record, you lip syncing basically. And then whenever you recorded a new clip, it'd be like, hey, now you're an all-star. So you'd get your game on, go play. And you'd say, hey, now, and then you'd stop recording. But then when you started a new recording, it would play, hey, now, and you could sing along with that. But then it would only start recording once it got to the you're a rock star part. So it allowed you to do like really good effects on a phone, and actually better than I think you could do on a computer.
I love the Smash Mouth example.
Yeah, that's the first thing that comes to my head,
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a little bit of a meta discussion, I guess, of podcast stuff.
Yeah. And maybe there will be. Maybe I will just go iPad, because like we mentioned before we started recording, like some of this software is like hundreds of dollars. or even hundreds of dollars a year. So if there's like a $20 iPad app that'll do it, that's worth just buying an iPad for at that point.
Yeah, I think Logic alone is $200 and Final Cut alone is $200. And when it's the education bundle, you get that and also Motion, which is like After Effects and a few other things all together for $200. But even still, it's like several $100s.
So the Adobe software is all subscription based. Are the Apple ones, or they're just like regular purchase?
No, yeah, and they've been hanging out for a while now. It's Logic Pro 10 or X or whatever, and I think it's been like that since like Mac OS 10 or whatever, whenever they came out with it. But no subscription, you just buy it. I'm a little bit afraid that we're very close to the end of its life cycle, and that Logic Pro 11 might come out in a year or something. But
yeah,
whatever. I'm actually, as a side note here, I'm impressed that we're still on Mac OS 10. Right?
Yeah, but it's like completely different than when 10 first came out. I think it's just a name at this point.
I don't know what do you think that they want 11 to be? Like a totally different experience, or?
Yeah, it's going to be like their AR software operating system or something. It's like
maybe
they're on like 10.15, like something like that. Like it's not the same thing anymore. I don't really get it.
Yeah.
I guess it's actually, no, it's not 10, right? It's Mac OS now.
Oh, did they drop 10? I don't know.
Okay, yeah, so they did drop 10. It's just Mac OS.
Oh, okay.
The version number might still actually be 10, though. I guess we can just figure this out.
Yeah, it might be technically in there. I don't know, but I know it stayed 10 when they went from Cats to, whatever the first California named one was. Was it?
So it's not called OS 10 anymore. It's Mac OS. I'm looking at my about thing. But the version number is still 10.13.5. But they're still using that in the version number, but it's not part of the actual name anymore.
But when they switched from cat names to, what was the first California one? Is it Yosemite? I don't know anymore.
That sounds right. But yeah, it was still, I think Mac OS is as of a year or two ago.
Okay. Well, cool. I don't know. But anyway, do you want to get into some of the topics we have here?
Yeah, sounds like you have a few things. I'll let you take it away.
Okay, well, in kind of the follow-up category, the only real thing I have here is that I took the liberty of unfollowing everybody on Twitter and on Instagram, which was like, that was rough because there was like 400 people. Because I think when you sign up for Instagram, it's like, do you want to add all of your Facebook friends?
Oh, yeah, I hate that. Instagram's becoming so Facebooky with this. Okay, maybe we can get into this later. But have you seen this IGTV stuff?
I don't think I have. No, what's that?
Okay, so Instagram started this, I guess, like social video competitor site that some people are saying competitor to YouTube. I don't really see that. It looks just like another Facebook thing. Mm-hmm. But there's now like this TV app. It's called IGTV. I don't know why you would do it. I guess it's just video content under the brand of Instagram.
Interesting.
But I think it's only on the phone. It's only vertical. So I don't know. Maybe it's like where vlogs should be living, not actual like content like for YouTube.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting. But like they really spam it in the regular Instagram app too. It's like I've got this bright orange button in the top right now, and it just makes me not want to open Instagram because it's like so distracting now because they're pushing this thing.
Huh. Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know. I have never used Instagram for any of its, like they added this stories thing and I just don't touch it. And so when new features sneak their way in, I'm not super aware, but that sounds interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I use Instagram's like my social app. I don't use Facebook at all. Like I don't have Facebook or anything on my phone. I never get onto my laptop unless I'm like selling something. But like I do use Instagram for like keeping up with friends, and then Twitter, as we've discussed in length, is how I like keep up with like influencer types, like Elon Musk, news,
Yeah.
those sorts of things, which is a curated list. But the only thing I'm like keeping up with friends on is Instagram.
I
But
think
now it's like become this thing that's like, now they're like really pushing this IGTV thing, and I'm worried that it's gonna become another like publisher site that I don't really care about anymore.
Well, I do think that's the way to do it, though. With Twitter, definitely not a friend thing, and a lot of friends probably aren't using it. Instagram, it's weirdly popular to me. It used to be Facebook. It used to be that's how you kept up with the friends and everything, and now, not probably entirely unrelated to the fact that Facebook owns Instagram and you can automatically add all your Facebook friends. It seems like a lot of people have one, so
Yeah.
that's surprising to me because it's square pictures. You can't embed a link except on your bio, right? That's still a thing.
Well, the square pictures, it can be any shape picture now or any aspect ratio.
Oh, okay.
I think the links, I still think that there's no links.
Yeah, that's weird.
But in stories, you can do links if you're a business.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, it makes sense then that they. Suppose then the other thing that would be for friends, I think, is Snapchat. Pretty definitely. So.
Yeah, Snapchat's one that I like wish succeeded over Instagram, but I use the Instagram stories just because like that's where everybody that I know is.
Yeah, it's a weird split, and I don't think a lot of people would have thought of them as competitors immediately a little while ago.
Well, it's because Instagram stole all Snapchat features, basically.
Yeah.
So just like overnight, put Snapchat into Instagram.
Yeah, and I don't remember if it was on this podcast or maybe I wasn't even talking to you, but I asked a little while ago somebody, is there ever a case, if you on Shark Tank, you watch Shark Tank or like any investor thing, and they're like, how is this protected?
Right.
Where's the IP protection or what makes this not possible for other people to do? And like sometimes I've had like trouble thinking of an example of a company stealing like from another company. And I know there's a lot, but like even
it happens
in this
a lot in tech, like everything Apple does or everything Android does, that community says that the other person did it first.
Yeah, it always sounds when investors ask that question like it's just going to immediately ruin the smaller company, but I don't have an amazing example of when there was a small company doing something and a large company stepped in and was just like, this is our thing now, and it just ruined the other company. I know there has to be some examples.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's hard to think of like a really solid example aside from like Snapchat and Instagram, just because I think that the big company so quickly just like squashes the little company. So maybe it happens more often than we know, but just like when the small company gets to that like critical threshold of users really love this feature, some larger company kind of builds it in because they've got hundreds of engineers just like ready to start building those things as they pop up. But like it's just like especially in software with Apple, like are you familiar with the term Sherlocking?
Yeah, it's your username.
Well, it's like, yeah, it's Sherlock Holmes, but it's also, there was an app, and I think it was an OS app or Mac OS app. I'm not entirely sure the history of like this specific app, but there was an app called Sherlock that Apple just built into their operating system. So like most recently, the AR measuring apps,
right?
Apple built their own AR measuring app. So they've Sherlocked all the hundreds of measuring apps.
Was that even a business model? Like, who's over there developing a measurement app? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think they probably made like flash in the pan money, but it wasn't like a significant thing. But just like things like that, it have happened a few times with Apple.
Yeah. Maybe I'll ask Reddit, or if anyone wants to tweet us, I'd love to hear like a really solid example of some company just destroying a smaller one, and then the smaller one definitely died, like immediately.
Yeah. I think, the best one I can come up with is Instagram and Snapchat.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, but Snapchat, little shaky, but they're still going pretty strong at least. I
Yeah,
don't
they're
know.
limping along though. They really lost a lot of people.
They just started I don't remember what it's called. I think it's just called Yellow. It's a like incubator for storytellers in Los Angeles. That looks pretty cool.
Snapchat did.
Yeah, they're just like apply and we'll come give you money and resources and stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Sounds like. So, do you watch any like Casey Neistat stuff?
I don't, but
I used to, and then he like got like kind of weird. Not weird, but it was just like the same thing, and he was like doing a very particular song and dance. But he stopped like vlogging for a while, and he came back under this whole 368 thing. And his like the whole mission of this 368 kind of thing is developing this studio with resources for creators to create things that maybe they wouldn't be able to otherwise. So they're like the YouTube spaces that I've seen of like people go and they can use really nice cameras or slow-mo cameras or sets or whatever. I think he's trying to create something like that, but for YouTubers, for podcasters, for like any creative thing, and he like helps enable people that he thinks like just need that extra push that maybe don't have the resources to really take the next step.
so he's making a physical space then?
Yeah. So, are you familiar with Beam?
Yeah, that his app.
Yeah. So that's why I started watching him, because he was like the vlog in the beginning was like this journey of him creating this business called Beam.
Mm-hmm.
And what Beam was, it was a news sort of, I guess initially it wasn't news actually. It was like a Snapchat competitor actually in the very beginning.
I like the concept.
Yeah, but the whole Beam idea was that when you're recording, you don't see yourself and you can't watch it back. So it's like saying capture what you're seeing, but don't not look at it because you're recording it. So it had some cool stuff to where like you would record and the screen would be black, but you could also just like hold it up to your chest and it would use the IR sensor on the front and just start recording when it was held up against you. So it's kind of a clever idea, like saying like be in the moment, but also share. And that's why I initially started following him. And they had an office in New York City where the Beam headquarters was basically next to Casey Neistat's studio. They sold to CNN. CNN basically shut him down. So now he had this space and he's turning that physical space into this thing called 368.
Cool.
Yeah, so that was kind of a tangent, but I'm assuming like is the Snapchat thing something similar to that, just like an incubator for creative people to create cool things, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know what the process to get into Casey's is, but you straight up just, apply to the Snapchat one and they take like a cohort or whatever and run them through it. And I don't know what like equity or whatever they claim, but
yeah. What's the CEO of Snapchat's name?
No.
I watched him on Recode, his interview. He's a really smart guy.
Mm-hmm.
So like he's like just very creative in the things that he create and in the things that he makes. And like Snapchat was like a very different thing when it first came out. But even like the way that he developed Snapchat was very unique in that like he didn't do like the standard, I don't know, it just feels like he didn't do just like the obvious next steps. He like really focused on making the app fun and interesting to use. Like all the AR stuff he did in an actually creative way, like making it something that people want to go to. Unfortunately, Snapchat just stole all of that and like can do it, but like he's still keeping up just because he's like a smart creative guy, which I like that. But
I'm going to transition into, we're talking about Snapchat funding storytellers. I just want to do a quick shout out on something that I saw between actually just a few days ago. It is a film. So near where I am is this thing called the Speed Art Museum. And it's just this fancy museum, but they also have a cinema. And so they'll play these like little indie films and whatever. And I just saw a brochure for this one and it looked kind of like a heist movie. And then doesn't really say much about it. And I didn't look into it at all. I was just like, this looks great. Let's go to it. I was a little disappointed by Ocean's 8. I didn't even see Ocean's 8, but it's not like a thriller. It's comedy-ish, and I'm not that interested.
oh, okay, yeah, Ocean's 11 is like one of my favorite movies.
But so I went to this film just knowing nothing, and it's called American Animals. And so the premise and the reason that it's at the theater that is near me is because it takes place in Lexington, Kentucky, and it boils down to spoilers, by the way, but it boils down to a bunch of college students that just felt like they could organize a heist and steal from their like library a bunch of rare books, and it just goes through. I compare it a lot. I think it was a lot like The Big Short, if you've seen that.
No, I haven't.
Well, The Big Short just it went through like the 2008 financial crisis, but like along the way, it would be very fourth wall breaking and like, now here's somebody to explain how financial, all kinds of weird technical terms, and it was like random celebrities. But this movie doesn't quite go there, but the point is that it's really realistic, and they even have the people that actually like, it's not based on a true story, and it starts out with that very phrase. It's like, this is not based on a true story, this is a true story. And literally the people that did the heist are in the film, and then it'll cut to the actors that are like kind of acting it out. So it's right on the edge of a documentary, but it's definitely a movie, and it's like just really engaging the entire time.
That sounds interesting. I'm like having trouble even like picturing what you just said on how it's like. So it's the same story, and there are different people playing the same parts. Well, some people are actors, some people are like the actual people doing the thing.
It'll say, when it introduces them on the bottom of the screen, like a documentary, it'll say, this is the real Eric, whatever his name is. And so there's 4 guys, I think. And it introduces them as the real, and then they're just kind of recounting the story. And then it cuts to the actors, and it doesn't feel like a documentary. Like, it still feels like a movie, but it's just done so well. The transitions are like comical, and just there's so much like whimsy and lightheartedness. But then at the end, it just gets really, that when they do the heist, it's like very realistic. Like, it's not like they hit the guy and he gets knocked out, and there's no like it really shows kind of like how things went when this went down. And I loved every moment of it.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. So are like the talking parts done like in real time of when the story's happening? Like, okay, we're about to go, do the heist now, and then they do it, and then they talk again? Or is this all recounting what happened, and then there's acting in between?
No, yeah, it's them like as if the director sat them down for an interview, just trying to recount what happened. And then once they recount it, it'll cut to kind of like it being acted out, which is like the main plot. And it's mostly actors, but it has the real people on occasion. And the real people do so well, it almost seems like, and maybe some of them actually are actors, I think. But it's just done so well. And a lot of times it'll be like conflicting stories that 2 of the guys tell, and it'll cut and like tell the one story, and then it'll like cut to the other story. It's great.
Yeah, it sounds cool. And that was at speed?
Yeah, and I think it was because it's a little bit more indie-ish of a movie.
Yeah. Have you seen Boyhood?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have much to say about it, but it's interesting just because so Boyhood is a movie. It's basically all the actors in the movie are like aging. Mm-hmm. They're filming it over like 10 years of all the actors' lives, so they're not like different actors throughout the story, but the story takes place over a long period of time, and you're like following the actors, and it's the same actors, so it took forever to film or whatever. But It's a really interesting concept, and
yeah, I liked it. I don't really remember a lot right now, but it definitely was a cool concept.
Yeah, I do remember liking it, but the memorable part is like just the concept of it.
Mm-hmm. That's what I kind of wonder what its ratings would have been if they didn't tell anyone that it was actually filmed over 12 years with the same kid, because I just feel like that biases it so much.
Yeah.
Okay, so that all started on me saying how I unfollowed everyone on Instagram and on Twitter.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Well, I've unfollowed literally everyone on Twitter, even Elon Musk. A few people I unfollowed that like their accounts are private, so as soon as you unfollow them, even though they're following me and I was like I don't know. Twitter's really weird, So you got your followers, and then you've got like the people you're following, and I don't even have a word for that. I think technically Twitter calls it friends in their API, but like it calls it followers or whatever. So it's really weird. But yeah, if someone has a private account, even if they're like following you and you unfollow them, now it won't let you see their stuff anymore, and you gotta like re-request to be their friend or whatever. That wasn't the case with too many people, so I don't care that much. But anyway, I unfollowed everybody, and it's great because now when I launch Twitter, I don't see just anything. I mean, it's very different how you use Twitter because I know you'd try to like, I guess, see all of the stuff, but.
Mm-hmm. But you log in and you go to whoever you want to see.
Yeah, I never intend to get that timeline. And so now it's a little bit narcissistic actually, because I guess I see my own stuff. So it's really just a feed of me when I launch it.
And you read through them and then post and then read that later.
Yeah. No, but it's great because I just tap at the top. I think it has like the recent people I've searched for, and I just tap them. And you know who the recent people I've searched for are? Is Elon Musk. End of list.
So why don't you just follow just him?
Yeah, I don't want to. He's been tweeting a lot. I don't know if you've seen. He's been tweeting a lot, and if I see it, I'm gonna be tempted to just, yeah. I'm keeping up with it, but like I choose when I want to go through it, and if I need to tweet or like search a company and tweet at them or something, then I just do that. So it's worked surprisingly well.
Do we want to talk about that at all? Like, what is he tweeting about? What is
Elon tweeting about?
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing that he tweeted recently was how he wants Mars government to be, and I found that very interesting. And he said these things before, and I think we even talked about them before, but it's like 40%, I don't know if you can find it there, but 40% to...
Are you talking about like the percent of votes to get laws in place or reject laws?
Yeah. I know he said before that he wants the sunset provision so that it automatically, like a law expires without renewal. He wants, like, if 40% want something removed, then it's able to be removed.
Yeah, he was saying it should be difficult to create laws, but easy to remove them.
Yeah, and there were a few other things in there, but I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, and, I think I like that idea. So basically what it was is to get a law in place, you need 60% vote, but to get a law removed, you need 40% vote or something like that.
Yeah. And
maybe there was more stuff because you talked about an expiration date, but I think what that does is, okay, there are all these outdated laws, like up until a few years ago, like things like gay marriage were illegal. Or like there are like all these things are just like outdated concepts, and they're like difficult to get people on board to change because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it like just keeps the laws current, basically.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting concept.
I think I got the tweet here. Okay, direct democracy by the people. So that's kind of cool in itself. Laws must be short. Oh yeah, this is kind of new. Laws must be short as there is trickery in length. And that's a pretty good one. And then at the end he says, yeah, freedom. And he's also been talking a lot about like his personal, like political, like what he is as I don't know, a lot of politics.
Yeah, I haven't looked too much into it. I've just like seen them slide by or like fly by, but
I mean, it's just there's so much from him that I don't even like. I didn't look at it for 21 hours, and it's still like several pages of tweets here that he's tweeted in the last.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to get through. But on a side note of Elon Musk, I'm seeing so many Model 3s, and it's making me very jealous.
Oh,
I guess they're starting to really roll out. But
have you ridden one or been up close?
No, I haven't ridden one, but I sent you a picture when I walked in there. But there's a showroom next to where I work, and they have a Model 3. So I just walked in. The guy was busy, but I just like went and sat in this Model 3.
That's pretty cool.
And it's really cool. It's obviously smaller, but it's not like super small.
Yeah.
But the really cool part is just like the interior looks so futuristic because there's nothing. It's just there's a screen in the middle, and everything else is just like sleek, like dashboard, but there's all this room, and the glass goes like all up above your head. It's really nice for a $30,000 to $50,000 car or whatever it was.
Yeah, it seems like a beauty. Again, I haven't had the opportunity to sit in one. I've come very close. There was a dude driving all around the United States, and he had like certain times to go meet him up and stuff, but like he got way delayed, and so it was gonna be like 3 a.m. or something, and I was gonna have to drive 2 hours, and I was like, nah. I'm a pretty diehard fan, but
Where's the nearest showroom to Louisville? Do you know?
like Indy probably, but
Really?
not all showrooms have a Model 3. I remember they
Yeah.
discussed a few showrooms were going to get a Model 3, and so I'm glad that Seattle got one, but or maybe they do. I don't know. It's been a little while, but last time I checked, they don't.
Yeah, there's one in Bellevue, which is next to Seattle, which I didn't get a chance to go in, but I did walk past it and like checked out the Model S. But then when the one in Seattle, they said they had just gotten it. So I guess they're still making their way out.
Some of those showrooms are, they're kind of cramped with all three of them. Like the Indy one, I don't know if you fit 3 cars in there. They already have, they have like the chassis as a show-off piece kind of in the back, and then they have an S and an X. So I don't know if they just get rid of the chassis or what, but it would be a tight fit.
Somebody in my apartment building has an X, so I've got like a personal showroom. I can't get in it because I'd get call the cops on me, but I look at it a lot.
You should ask to make friends with that guy.
Yeah, I know. But the X is really nice. It's like so spacious. We got in one of those too a few weeks ago, and it's like huge in there.
So I want to talk about the iPhone having some features that I either don't use or never knew about real quick.
Okay. I wanted to talk about, I see that you have like shortcuts in here, so I do want to talk about that a little bit too. So I'm excited about, I'll let you get into your features first.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to run down these real quick, and you tell me if you're aware of them. So first of all, I was just, I think, browsing the Apple, r/Apple subreddit. First of all, there's a thing called, I don't know what it's called, but you can 3D touch on the standard keyboard so if you're pressing hard, you can use it as a cursor.
Oh yeah, I love that. That's like one of my favorite features.
Well, see, I don't have 3D touch on my little iPhone SE, so I don't feel too bad about not knowing about that. But if I had a phone that supported that up until now and I didn't know about it, that seems like a game changer.
Yeah, the little magnifying glass is like, that really needs to be redesigned completely, which I guess is what they've done with this 3D touch. But yeah, I use that constantly.
That one is that's awesome. And, here is a little compromise for me though. So the Google keyboard, I love the Google keyboard. I know that it, I guess, doesn't work great on the iPhone 10, but, so not only does it have this cool feature where if you type in a calculation, it'll literally, in the suggestion, it'll put the answer. So like you can multiply stuff in there. And that doesn't sound that useful, but it's helped me out several times, like significantly. And then the other thing about it is if you scroll on the space bar, like left and right, you get, like, you can't do it as much as it looks like you can do with 3D touch, but you can move the cursor left and right with that.
Is it stuck to that line?
Yeah, it's stuck in I think like you can slide farther than the space bar goes, but you can't go like up.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're just on the horizontal line of the screen. So I love that keyboard. So
yeah, I can never get it to work right, but
well, you don't need it to because you got the 3D touch.
Yeah.
So second thing I have here is if in Safari and you're in the tab view and you have multiple tabs open, if you swipe down from that tab view, you will get a search bar. Have you ever seen that thing?
No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's so impossible to find. And someone said that, like, someone on Reddit said, like, oh, this is new in iOS 12. And then someone in the comments was like, nope, it's been there, just no one knows that it exists.
So when you're looking at all of your tabs.
Yeah, when you see that little cascading tab thing, you can like swipe it down and there's like a search within tabs thing, which I
Okay.
that's super cool. And I had no idea that it was there.
Let me give you another tabs one. Do you know that when you press and hold on done, you can clear all tabs?
Oh, what?
See, there you go.
Wait.
Yeah, when you have like a million tabs open, so you don't have to swipe left a bunch, you press and hold on the done button and you can clear all the tabs
Oh
at
my
once.
God. It's changing like everything. Well, here's what I do if I have a lot of tabs open though. I mean, I usually don't go past like 10 or 20 or something, but if you just tap on that little X at the top, you can like tap really quickly and you'll close out of all of them. So it hasn't been too problematic for me, but that's probably even better.
Yeah, because mine comes from like clicking on links to things, and then all of a sudden I've got like a bunch of tabs open, so I just clear them out every once in a while. But yeah, that's another good one.
Well, this is the thing about 3D touch type stuff. So that's not 3D touch, right? But like, can you 3D touch the done and get the little clear tabs?
You might be able to, but it just works on press and hold.
Okay, I just imagine like there might be a lot of things, because there is never an indicator for 3D touch. It's just you have to poke it literally harder and see if something happens. So
yeah,
I bet there's a lot of little functionality like that. Okay, then these other two kind of go together. So do you ever swipe to go back in an app?
Yeah, it like gets on my nerves when it doesn't work.
Oh yeah, but you're like, so it's a little bit of, I don't know, is it an Android thing? Maybe it's not.
It's been in iOS for a few years, but you have to have the view controllers set up in a certain way. They're like the navigation view controller set up as you're developing it, and it builds that swipe gesture in by default. But then there are some apps like build like these super custom like layouts, and it doesn't support it, and it's really annoying.
Yeah, just every once in a while I remember and realize that I don't have to reach up to the very top left corner to hit that like back to where you were thing.
Yeah.
And it's pretty nice, but I don't think I ever do it because one, it doesn't work all of the time, and two, I think it didn't used to work like in the early versions of iOS.
Yeah, it hasn't always been there, but it's been a little while.
Mm-hmm. And the last thing is, do you ever, so if you're in one app and that app throws you to another app, it will put the name of the app in the status bar thing at the top, like where your cell phone signal is?
Yeah, if you want to like go back to that.
Yeah, and like
where you came from.
Your status bar becomes a button essentially.
Yeah, I don't like that so much because so on the previous phone I had the iPhone 7S or whatever it was. 7, I don't know. But you could like press, it was like a force touch thing or a 3D touch thing where you like press harder on the left of the screen, and instead of like sliding to the previous view controller, it would go to the previous app. So I would use that. But now on the iPhone 10, there's like the home bar at the bottom, and you can swipe on the that home bar, and it switches to your apps. And that's like probably one of my favorite features of the iPhone 10 is like how easy it is. Like it's so much faster to use multiple apps quickly by swiping back and forth just on this little thing.
Yeah, I don't exactly know what you're talking about, not having played around with an iPhone 10 enough, but
yeah, it's really just at the bottom of the screen. So say you're in, Safari, but before that you were in Messages, and you want to send somebody a link. You can copy it, and instead of having to like go back to the home screen and then open Messages, you just will like on the very bottom of the screen, you would just swipe to the right, and it would take you to the Messages app, and just keep swiping, and it'll take you as far back as you want.
Well, what I would do on my little iPhone SE is I would double click home. But yeah, this is like this is your replacement for that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you could go to multi,
like the history app thingy.
Yeah, and then tap on it. But
yeah.
I love all the little shortcuts and everything. Like even so that's like my worst part about at Amazon having to work on a PC is that like I know every little shortcut for Mac, So now switching to PC, it's like everything takes me like twice as long to do because I can't just use keyboard shortcuts for everything.
Yeah, I'm not even sure there are keyboard shortcuts for everything on the PC.
Yeah,
I
it's
know
really
there's some stuff. You can like switch spaces and things or whatever.
yeah, but like spaces is weird unless I'm missing something. But like when you switch spaces, it switches on both, like on all of your monitors.
Mm-hmm.
So like I can't have one monitor stay the same and the other one can't stay on the space, and then like it like will close and open apps differently, and I don't know, it just acts really weird.
You know what? The one thing that a PC does that I don't even know how you use a Mac without this feature. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Um, Spaces, I don't know.
No, it's just window maximization, and I'm not talking about their weird full screen thingy on Mac. It's just yeah. So I have an application that's called Window Tidy. And all it does is I have a few keyboard shortcuts where I can, whatever window selected, it will either maximize or make kind of a small version, or make on the left side of the screen or make on the right side of the screen. And that's it. And
yeah, that's built into PC a little bit. Like you drag and you just like go all the way to the corner, and it'll either make it, if you drag to the top, it makes it full screen. If you drag to the right, it makes it that half of the screen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, do you not have something to do that on your Mac?
No, I don't. I don't really use my Mac like that, I guess. If I have things on like, if I have things on multiple desktops, or sorry, if I have multiple apps on one desktop, I have them laid out in a way that I can like get to them. But like for the most part, if I need something separate, I will put it in on a whole different desktop. If I need them side by side, I use the full screens, and
You just let it be the size that it wants to be then, or?
I'll resize it sometimes. But if I want it to be like half and half screen, I'll take them both to full screen and put them half and half.
Ugh, I don't know. I just immediately do a quick little, like everything I do is in the most possible screen real estate mode that it can be, which is like full. But it's not the full screen mode because that's weird and changes where toolbars go and stuff.
Yeah, like right now, like if I have 3 apps open, I have FaceTime, I have Safari, and I have GarageBand. If I were to do Safari and GarageBand half and half, like things would just be weird because I want GarageBand to be 3/4 of the screen. I want Safari to be half the screen, and I want FaceTime to be like just clickable if I need to get to it. So I've got it like they're like layered on top of each other in a way that I can get to everything, but everything's the right size.
Okay.
But if I wanted it to be exactly half, I take them to full screen. I don't know.
So I have Logic on a dedicated space. I have sound settings and FaceTime on. They're kind of just small windows. Well, FaceTime you can't, like, it won't work to maximize anyway, so that's fine. But so those are just 2 little windows in a space, and then I have Safari opened in a maximized space. Or like Safari is as big as it can get just in this dedicated space. But yeah, it surprises me that that's not really supported in any way. One little trick though that I learned is if you're in the corner of an application and you double click, you know how like resize from the corner? If you double click a corner, it will take it all the way out. So you can, in like 2 double clicks, make a window full screen.
Yeah.
But it's not great.
I know I did used to use the app that did something like that. So I did used to organize my windows in that way when I came from PC because PC did that. So I had this app that would like basically you hold down Command and you can press the arrows.
Yeah.
In whichever way what you want to fit that window. But
yeah,
I upgraded one time and then I didn't re-download it, and this is just how I've been doing it since.
Interesting. Did you want to talk about another iPhone type feature?
Oh,
what was it?
Yeah, so
or shortcuts, right?
Yeah, when we were talking about shortcuts and the Siri updates in the WWDC episode, so I guess that was the last episode. And I guess this actually fits in follow up, but I was like not super excited about the shortcuts, and I'm still like kind of lackluster on it, just because it's not solving the problem that I wanted solved. But I am getting really excited about the shortcuts, and that like now that I've been thinking of ways that I could use it. So yeah, Siri's gotten no smarter, but there is this framework now for developers to allow me to use Siri in a somewhat useful way. And just like in the mornings is like my specific example, where I would love to be able to ask Siri, just say like good morning, and then it tells me like what the weather is for the day. It tells me when the bus route comes, maybe like even start coffee, read the news, and then it could like I'm trying to think of ways to use it now, and like this like stack of events that you can assign to it is really exciting. I don't really have a whole lot to say about it, but I just want to say like I was less excited before when I first heard about it. I still wish Siri got smarter too. But now this kind of workflow on top of Siri, I'm starting to see ways that I could use it that would be really cool.
Yeah, my big thing, two things. One is the fact that all of these things can happen on the watch, which means that now the watch can be as powerful as the iPhone with shortcuts.
Right, yeah.
Or I think anyway. I don't know if maybe the watch will be more limited, but that is really awesome.
Yeah. I've been trying to get more used to using the watch for Siri too, because to your point, like if I'm going to use these things and I don't want to have to pull my phone out to do it, even if like Gray and Mike do time tracking, like it'd be great for them to say, hey, start my timer for writing, and it just do that rather than having to pull their phone out. Now they can do that all on the watch.
Yeah.
Like little things like that is going to be really cool.
And the fact that you don't even have to say, hey, Siri, and it really like it doesn't seem like a lot, but I think it removes it's just a barrier to like not wanting to use Hey Siri.
Yeah, well, and it removes the need for Hey Siri to work correctly, which it never does. So if it's just always on when you raise your wrist and there's never a question, and then your success rate's going to be much higher because it's never going to not work.
Yeah, but where I really see potential in shortcuts, I mean, one is everybody could like share shortcuts with each other, so there's like a community hopefully here.
Yeah.
Of not only developers really wanting to develop them, but people combining, I don't know, what do they call it? Like a workflow or a recipe, or I guess it's just called a shortcut, right?
Yeah, I think they're still just called shortcuts.
But so yeah, but then on top of that, I could envision getting through an entire day doing the things that I do, like, let's check the tweets that Elon has, and let's look at the email, and it's a pain in the butt to set up probably, but in theory, I could not look at a screen at all. It would be entirely voice based, and it feels like the future, and it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, if this like really does the things that I want it to do and works well, I'm like starting to consider buying the HomePod too. Because I've walked past it in the Apple stores, and like they're really small, but the sound is like really big. So like they like sound great.
Well, just people seem to be pretty impressed with the sound from what I've seen.
Yeah, like I've been in huge Apple stores, and they've just got a little one of these in the corner, and it's filling the whole room with music. So I don't know. I kind of don't know how much they cost, so maybe not. But like if Siri is going to become as powerful as maybe it could be, especially once I start setting up all these workflows, or all these shortcuts, that would be really cool to like just have it ever present the way my Echo is now.
I think that's where they're getting, right? I mean, if it's on the watch and you don't even have to say anything, and it's in your house, and you really just have this assistant. And it's weird too how many Amazon Echoes just trying to be everywhere. And I think I just saw like several commercials in a row that featured voice assistants, and they're really gunning for this.
Yeah. What's going to be really cool, like what would really make the HomePod like a killer thing, I think, would be voice recognition. I guess that's obvious, but voice recognition, as if like by that I mean I can talk to it and my wife can talk to it, and it'll do different things. So if I say what's on my calendar today, it'll tell me my calendar, but if she says it, it'll say what's on her calendar.
Yeah. Well, that is what voice recognition is, it recognizes you.
Right. Instead of just like some generic, this has to be tied to a single, calendar or a single whatever. Like if we can both use it in the ways that we want to use it, I think that's what will also make it like something actually really useful.
Yeah, and it's got to be at least pretty functional. Maybe it's not perfect with like two similar voices, but they have to have right out. Have you ever seen something that does in fact do that?
I don't know. Does does the Google Home do that?
I know that they were talking about it. I don't know if it's a feature yet. I think maybe the Xbox recognized different people when it had the Connect.
Oh, okay.
It might have done that, but it doesn't seem to. This is plenty capable at this point, right?
Yeah. The Kinect also has the advantage of the camera.
Oh, maybe it did just look at faces. I don't remember. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess all of that to say there might be some really cool things we can do with Siri, and maybe I'll get a HomePod one of these days.
Yeah. I Shortcuts is I think probably I like some other things, but Shortcuts has like a lot of potential that I'm really happy to see.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. So, do you know the AI box experiment?
I do not.
Okay. So, oh man, I should know the guy's name and I don't. It starts with a Y. Yavosky, or I don't know. It's a weird looking name. But anyway, some guy that is very, he's like a fellow at the Artificial Intelligence Center or something like that. But he's like an advocate for the dangers of artificial intelligence. And in like the 2000s or maybe even before that, like 1990, late 1990s, he came up with this little experiment because, at the time it was like, oh, if we create an artificial intelligence, we'll just keep it in a box and it'll be cut off from the internet and the rest of the world and it'll be not a threat to humanity, right? That was like some people's arguments.
Yeah, there are problems with that too, but maybe that's what this is. So, I'll just let you get into it.
Okay. Well, here, let me use that as an opportunity to look up the guy's proper name here because I feel like that's important. Yeah, okay. Yudkowsky.
I'm sure that's right.
Yeah, so I'm not going to say that again because I forget already, but that guy heard a lot of arguments from people that were like, it'll be fine. You keep it cut off and it's not a threat. And so his response to this was, okay, if you think that a super intelligent computer couldn't figure its way out of this box, then let's do an experiment where this guy, the Y guy, Yudkowsky or whatever, pretended to be the artificial intelligence. So he's just, he's a guy.
Yeah.
And kind of the purpose of the game, there's a lot of specifics, but essentially they're in a chat room. They get like 2 hours to chat back and forth. And the one like criteria is that the gatekeeper, as it's called, which is these doubter people. So the gatekeepers are meant to keep the artificial intelligence in the box. They're supposed to not let it out.
Yeah.
And over the course of that 2 hours, they just have to have a conversation back and forth. And it was basically just like, hey, I'll bet you I can convince you to let me out. And what's interesting is it's not just like, I bet I can trick you to let me out, where you get them to accidentally do something so that it accesses the outside world or somehow accidentally releases it. The people that are the gatekeepers have to like consciously agree, and like afterwards they post like, I decided to let the AI out of the box, right?
Oh wow, I haven't heard of it like that. Like I've heard the argument of like the artificial intelligence could very easily trick a human into connecting to them to the internet somewhere. But this is interesting.
No, yeah, this is like the human. And I've looked into it. I need to look in it probably some more, but I've read some of the comments that these guys have made. There's two people. There's this Yudovsky or whatever guy. And I think he's probably like pretty noteworthy in AI. So if people know of him, I don't know how to say his name. And then there's one other guy on this Rational Wiki, which is like just a community for, it's either Rational Wiki or Less Wrong, but there's a community where people talk about this, and one other guy figured it out, and I don't remember his name right now either, but they were kind of commenting on how things went because they don't release the transcripts. That's like part of the agreement when these guys have set up experiments like this.
Really?
And the thought is that if they release them, it's just people are going to read it and not believe that they would fall for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of sounds like we don't want you to see the transcript because we cheated or something, but it looks fairly legitimate. People have said that there's kind of like some level of emotional manipulation involved. So it's like kind of a like almost a hypnotist level or a mentalist. And on top of that, yeah. So these guys, if someone asked like, was it a spur of the moment thing or like, do you regret it now? And the guy was like, I forget his exact response, but it was basically like, not really. Like I was conscious and aware at the time and decided to. So I'm over here just like, the hell could this thing be? You know?
Yeah, how do they not release the transcripts? We just have to trust that it worked. That's the whole experiment, is the transcript.
Yeah, I guess it's two-part. In one, he doesn't want people to,
Like I would say, don't release the people's name that participated, but you've got to release the transcripts and say so people can see.
there aren't, and it's been some like 20 years, short of 20 years here, without transcripts, but with a couple instances of success. And so I understand completely how a super intelligent computer would convince me or anyone to let it out of the computer. So I'm not like saying this is a stupid experiment, like or that we should keep an AI in a box here. I understand that like almost anyone would almost certainly be susceptible to some super intelligent, beyond human intelligence level thingy that could just manipulate you.
Yeah.
And I understand how some people would give in and be manipulated. So some of the arguments are like, well, what if you say, let me out of this box so that when we don't release the transcripts, the fact that you let me out of the box supports the argument that we shouldn't build an AI box. So it effectively, if you want to help support the AI box experiment argument, you can just participate in the AI box experiment argument and then let the AI out. Which is, I don't think it's that. I don't think that's what happened. But like in theory, that's what could have happened.
So does this guy propose what we should do?
What do you mean?
Maybe I'm confused, but is he saying that we shouldn't put the AI on box and we need some other solution because having an AI in the box doesn't work? Or is he proposing we put AI in a box and do a better job? Like, what exactly is he proposing?
I think he has a lot of writing and comments and stuff about AI concerns. But for what I've read on the AI box, he's just basically saying like this thing that everyone or that some people think is foolproof.
Oh, okay.
Like is definitely not. So he's not really proposing something, and he's probably not saying let's not put it in the box, but like he's just saying that's not enough in itself. Since even a chat room for 2 hours with a real human can manage his way out.
Yeah, I obviously don't know what the answer is, but like it seems like it's somewhere with like, I don't know, instead of general intelligence, very specialized, or even like, okay, we have like AI, it's in a box, 400 feet underground on an island, in the middle of the Pacific. And you have to sail to that island. There's only one person in the world at a time that's ever allowed to sail there, ask it a question, how do we cure cancer? And then has to get the answer out of there on paper. And like, I don't know what it would be, but like.
Well, the box is probably more of a metaphor. That's exactly like the thinking is like just throw it a question and it spits out an answer and you don't really interact with it otherwise. But it would probably be more software. I've seen some people propose like, you do multiple layers of virtual machines. So if it escapes one virtual machine, it's in another virtual machine. I've seen people suggest you can have it reset basically. Like it gets 20, 30 seconds to think. And if you give it a question in those 30 seconds, it might answer it. But after 30 seconds, it's, it just resets everything. So it doesn't have like infinite time to plan and plot its escape kind of thing.
Well, even that seems like not safe. You give a super intelligence 30 seconds, it can live 10,000 lifetimes and send like a bit to everybody in the world and reassemble itself. And then like it now just lives in some peer-to-peer network and can never be destroyed. Like it would have to be completely cut off.
I don't know if you look at like its theoretical, like give it an amount of time such that whatever power amount, like whatever processing power it has, is only enough to do like, not super
Yeah.
intelligence level computations. But
Yeah. We have AI, but it lives on this calculator, and we've got to wait for it to spit out an answer.
But I'm really fascinated by this experiment. I emailed a mentalist in Louisville who has not responded to me yet, but I would love to just do this experiment, like, because I see how an actual AI could trick everyone. I see how a person could trick some people, or not trick some people, just convince some people. I don't see how I would be convinced right now. And
Right.
like some
But
of the
that's what
other
everybody
arguments,
thinks.
I don't know. Like
Like
some of the
I would love to be put in a room. I would love to just be in that experiment and just see how I do. Like even if I'm pretty certain that I would.
Well, yeah, I would love to see how this goes. Another argument that I saw someone say is like maybe, the AI essentially convinces the person that it's like a living thing that deserves to be set free. And I'd be like, Psh, it was an experiment. I don't care. No.
Yeah. I've seen Ex Machina.
Yeah. So this is very similar in basically the whole plot of Ex Machina. Um, and it gets out, but also, that's real interaction. Well, spoilers, it gets out.
Yeah. It's like unrealistic in the way that it would be much worse. Like they wouldn't need the physical. I guess the physical body is just like maybe the need to want to be human or want to fit in or something.
Yeah.
But like very easily that same thing could just like connect and just live with no physical body. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm just mostly concerned. I guess my bigger point here is I don't understand mentalist and hypnotist type stuff. Because I've seen these guys have been at my prom or whatever in high school. Like, did you ever have one of these guys?
No, but I'm fascinated by it too. Like just the manipulation of people to get them to do very particular things. Like, so this is a TV show, but have you ever watched the TV show The Mentalist?
No.
It's really good. It's just a procedural. Like it's a same thing every episode, basically. But it's still really interesting because it's got this whole mentalist aspect. But basically, he like is really good at like soothing people and talking to people. And he used to be a psychic and like would help people or whatever. But then like his wife got killed and now he's just a mentalist, and now he's saying, no, magic and psychics, that's not real, but you can't easily manipulate people. So the whole series like goes through him doing that to like solve crimes or whatever. It's really good, and that's like what's gotten me like fascinated with it. And I believe that it's a thing, but I can't imagine ever actually being hypnotized.
Well, so what I hear here, there's manipulating people, which is just if you play emotions right, that's one thing. But for the actual like hypnotism thing that people do, and that like there are police hypnotists. This isn't a complete nonsense thing. Like there's guys on the payroll that hypnotize. Are you aware of that? Like that hypnotize witnesses, and they're able to remember more.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
And so the thing that I hear a lot is that you have to be like willing for the hypnotism.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But so like at the school prom stuff, he'll have like 20 people come up, and like maybe half or so will just be told to sit down because it's just they're like, I don't know if he doesn't have the time, and like some people are more hypnotizable than others, and he just tells those people to sit down. But it's not 100% success rate when he randomly picks people from the audience. But like the people that end up still on the stage, these are people that I know, and I just see them come off the stage still, and they're like, he told one guy like, everyone you see has an elephant trunk, and he's looking at me with this like completely dumbfounded face. It's not acting. They really feel that, and I don't completely get it. So I'd really like to figure out how this stuff goes.
Yeah, I would love to try to be hypnotized or try to be talked into, like even like as a kid, like I never obviously considered actually doing it. I was like, what happens if I like call the police on myself and just like see how well I can get away from them. Like it'd be like a fun game show type thing to do, just like to be in all these situations and see how you do.
Yeah.
But isn't it essentially like you're basically asleep? So it's like you're talking to just like a half asleep person.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It probably helps that at like 3 a.m. is when that happened at prom. So.
Oh, it really?
Oh yeah, that's what they would say in the shows. Actually, they would say like if you get hypnotized, it is like the equivalent of 8 hours of sleep. And I don't know if they're just saying that to get volunteers, but they did say that it actually like effectively was sleep, and you got like health benefits from it or whatever.
I need to get my wife to learn how to hypnotize and then just like do that for 30 minutes a day and never sleep again.
Yeah, so I don't get it. It's very interesting to me. It feels like it's underutilized. Like the only practical application I've ever really heard of is a police hypnotist, and that's still kind of a rare thing.
Yeah, no. And why aren't there more like people robbing banks that are hypnotized?
Oh man, don't get me started. So with the what American Animals thing, I saw that and I was like, so that for a little bit spoilers, but they don't do anything blatantly illegal pretty deep into the planning. And so in response to that, I was like, well, is it illegal to like plan a heist? And I asked Reddit. And so a lot of people got back to me and said that it's basically like if you have intent, which is like, how do you prove or say that you had intent or not? So that's kind of up in the air and debatable. But the other thing is like, if you kind of like take actions to forward the plan or whatever, and that's again like what counts. So if you get a gun, that probably counts, but if you like, I don't know.
Well, even that, like, is intent alone a crime? Like you've completely planned out a bank heist, you've got all the guns ready, all of the like the Bill Clinton masks ready or whatever, and you're outside of the bank in a white van, but you haven't gotten out of the van. Is that a crime?
Yeah, so I asked a couple scenarios, and one of them was like, what if a bank robber goes right up until the point, but then he chickens out or something, or it's a bad day, and then he stops, and he's like, well, I might as well write a book about what I almost did.
You're right.
And people said that would not be allowed. I don't know if like realistically you would get in trouble, but
I mean, if OJ can write a book, I didn't kill my wife, but if I did, this is how I would do it, and that's gotta be fine, right?
Well, he already had his trial though, right? At that point. Yeah. But no, so it's about, there's conspiracy crimes and things, and so this is definitely like conspiracy to something. I think it's
okay.
But it's like, so I put another example that was like, what if either you are an author or an actor that's just trying to like see how this would be done if you're in like a bank robber role, or writing a book about it, like a fantasy novel, or not fantasy, like a fictional account or something. And then I also asked like, what if you're kind of like a white hat hacker? So somebody that like looks for vulnerabilities in a security system and then just basically reports it. And sometimes that's for money, and other times it's just like to be a good citizen or whatever. And it seemed like you would be all right in those situations, but it's still like a fine line with what counts as intent, what counts as moving kind of the thing forward. And so,
yeah, we've got to get like people to agree to it. Like go up to a bank and say, hey, sometime in the next 6 months, we're going to try and rob you. Sign this paper to say everything's cool with that. And if we succeed, we'll tell you how we did it.
What's like the coolest thing in the world is there are people allegedly that have a job as physical penetration tester.
Yeah.
And it's like, penetration testing normally is a computer thing, and you use Linux and you try to hack your way around stuff or whatever. But like physical is like, see if you can get a drone to record the blackboard and know our business strategy so you can bet on the stocks or whatever. Or if you can just, break in and steal stuff. And so there are some like companies that'll use those kind of services, which is crazy cool.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
There's actually a class at my college that I never took, which is a darn shame, but somehow it was like working with the Department of Homeland Security. And one of the things that you did in the class was you all went to Indianapolis, so it was a little bit of a drive. And basically, this is how it was described to me. I'm not 100% sure this is what happens, but somebody said that basically during a basketball game, you try to sneak into places you're not supposed to be. And it's like part of the class. And I guess if you get caught, you just show off like a badge or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would be fun. Just trying to like, walk in like you own the place into like, a VIP suite or something.
Yeah, that sounded like an amazing class. I wanted to take that one, but
Have you ever like gone to the social engineering subreddit?
Oh, I think maybe once. It's been a while.
Like it's mostly like self-help type stuff at this point. But like, so I'm not like subscribed to it, but I'll go there and like search sometimes, and they've got some interesting stuff. But just like social engineering in general is a really interesting thing. Kind of going back to manipulation. Like that's my biggest fear with AI is that like you hear about these stories where they just like call up Oracle and somehow get a password to like Facebook's database and then, or whatever, and can like hack into all these things just by talking to people, give just a cell phone to a super intelligence and they could basically hack into anything. But like the strategies and the way that people do those things is like really interesting. Like hacking people basically.
Yeah. Social engineering could be like it's a cool, I was asking like, can you make a podcast out of this kind of thing? Can you make and then you've got all these people that do their like email trickery.
Right.
I don't know. Have you, so do you know who Nathan Fielder is?
Oh yeah, the Nathan For You guy. He like has like business stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So just recently, like a week or two ago, he's off season right now, so there's not like stuff airing. But the Emmys, I want to say, had a vote-in system where people could use their Emmy account.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that.
You saw the video about it?
Yeah. Like they made like the phishing websites. It was like Emmys2018.com and yeah.
Yeah, he just hired like a hacker essentially to make a fake website. And what happens is there is two-factor authentication, but people visit the fake website because they send out that you buy email addresses or get email addresses, however, and they just mass email all these people the website. So they end up on the fake website. They log in with their real credentials. You take those real credentials to the real website and then log in there. And then the real website will then send out a prompt for the two-factor authentication as a text message.
Yeah.
And so then when they get the text message that they then enter into the fake website again as the authentication, but really now you have two-factor authentication with that PIN to put into the real website. And so even two-factor authentication just completely breaks down because they used like the real website against itself almost.
Yeah, I have two-factor for everything, and it's like I know I'm like so paranoid all the time. Like the only two-factor authentication that's like seems actually reliable is the Apple one. When you're signing into Apple services from anywhere, it tells you what the location is of the person trying to sign in.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool.
But I was just gonna say the Nathan For You thing was funny because like the whole time he keeps saying, don't do this, but you're saying theoretically it's really easy for maybe some of my audience to do this very easily and hack in and vote for me. Yeah. They shouldn't do that, but they could very easily do that. It's like
I really think him and John Oliver they have to have like just a lawyer on staff that they ask like could we get in trouble for this? Because they ride the line sometimes.
Yeah, the whole time I was watching that, I was like, how did he get like approved to do this? Like the Emmys had to have had a say in this somehow, right? He had another one of his like, so he has a TV show called Nathan For You where he like does like really weird business ideas to like help struggling businesses. And have you seen the one where he's like, it's like I think it's like a TV store or something, and it's like free TVs or like $1 off a TV, but like the TV is like in the back of this closet with a live alligator in front of it. So like it's not actually lying, but the only free TV is in the back next to an alligator, like through this little tiny door that you can't fit in.
Yeah, he's got some really great moments that I don't know. So my question on this show, if we're gonna talk about the show a bit here, like what? So in one of the episodes on the latest season, he convinces some dude on Craigslist or whatever that he works for Shell, like the oil company, and he sets up like a whole fake venue where the Shell representative goes and talks to like a group of like supposedly real reporters or just the public in general or something. And like the dude on stage allegedly thinks that he really works for Shell, and the people really think he works for Shell, and just technically that would be illegal, right? If they did that. So I feel like maybe somebody was an actor in that one.
Yeah, that seems illegal because what is it? There's like different laws around like libel and something else. One's like broadcast. I don't know, but it seems like it would fall under that. Like you can't say that you're a representative of Shell.
Surely the guy doesn't think he is actually employed by the Shell oil company with like, and he's not, right? Like that can't possibly be a legal thing to do. I don't know. It sounds like maybe a tricky law thing, and maybe they're just relying on they have so much money that if it became a legal thing, it wouldn't really matter.
Yeah.
Well, here's a fun one that's pretty definitely not legal. There was a guy. I think he's still doing this thing. There's a dude in Canada somewhere, and what he'll do is he'll creep, or no, he doesn't creep. He sets up profiles on random, I guess, Facebook and stuff. I don't even know, like websites, wherever kids have profiles and stuff. And he'll pretend to either be like a 13 or 14-year-old boy or girl, but then he'll like get creeps to try to meet him in real life. And so when they do, he's just there, he's like, it's people from all over like the country in the United States, and they come to Canada and things thinking like they're going to, get with this kid because they're a pervert. And when he meets with them, it's just like this buff, like he looks like a straight up, almost thug. Like he's got muscles. But when he meets with these guys, he's just like, yo, what the hell, man? And he just like berates them while his like friend films it, and he puts it up on YouTube.
Oh, so this is just a guy. This isn't.
Yeah, this isn't a show. It's a YouTube channel, and I think he might like make some money off the YouTube channel. And it is weirdly entertaining, but like, yeah, that's the process. Like lure in by pretending to be a kid, and then just berate them on film. Isn't it? This is like, and it's almost definitely illegal. But I don't know if this is just a case of he's kind of doing a good thing, so no one has cared enough yet, or what. But there was one video he put out where he accidentally left the phone number in of one of the guys, and like before he had met him, and that guy just basically then immediately, I don't know, somehow people like sent the number to police or something, and he just immediately got arrested or something. So
oh, is he just like doing this for the YouTube channel? He's not calling the police too?
Oh no, he doesn't call the police. He just
God.
he meets with them, and he like, cusses them out. It's really intense too. Like Vice did a documentary on it, and it's a really good little like 20-minute documentary. But yeah, he just gets mad at them basically, and then essentially ruins their life because it's up on YouTube, and I don't know, people I guess find it somehow in whatever town they're actually from and stuff like that. So
I always like the ones that are like scammers or like fishers from other countries, or I guess from anywhere, trying to like get into somebody's computer, and like the person knowing exactly what's going on the whole time, and like somehow hacked into the hacker's computer. I don't know, like those sorts of videos. Those are always funny. Just like messing with spammers in general is funny. If I have enough time, sometimes when I get a spam call, I'll just talk to them and see what they're trying to do.
Yeah, well, sometimes. So I hear two great things with spam calls. Number one, apparently sometimes the only thing they're trying to do is get recordings of your voice so that they can like chop it up and use it. I don't know. I've heard that. I don't know if it's true. But so even just talking to them can be like counterproductive for yourself, allegedly.
Maybe I should stop doing that.
I don't know. I don't know who's really chopping up audio recordings, but Yeah, that and the fact that if you answer, they know it's like, oh, this is a real phone with a real person on the end.
When I was trying to sell my car, like I was getting so many spam like texts and emails.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I still don't understand what the thing was. Like I went as far as I could to figure out what they were doing, and it always ended in, every time it ended in, oh, okay, I'm gonna buy the car. I can't be there, but I'll send some representative to be there for me. What's your PayPal? I'll buy the car through PayPal, and I'll like.
Mm-hmm.
There's like some PayPal scam there, but like I guess maybe they'll try to maybe the next step is to convince me to sell them to send them money first. Like, I don't know what the scam could possibly be, but there's some PayPal scam there that I don't understand. And like every time, once I'm like gone as far as I feel comfortable going, I'm like, look, I know that you're trying to scam me. I don't care. Like, I don't care at all, but just please tell me what the scam is because I don't understand. And I've never gotten a response.
Oh.
So if anybody out there knows what this PayPal cars.com scam is, would you please tweet it to us?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how it would work with a car, but I've tried to sell an Xbox and I've gotten like multiple back-to-back messages of, hey, I want to buy the Xbox, but it's for my brother in the military somewhere overseas.
Yeah.
So just ship it there and I will PayPal you or something like that. And I think the idea is that I send someone an Xbox and then they just either don't PayPal me or they trick me into thinking that they PayPal'd me with a fake website pretty much. I don't know how it would work with a car, but the idea is like this is now out of the country and I've already not gotten, or I don't get the money.
So when I was probably like 13 maybe. I don't know. When did like the iPod, there's like a small iPod video. It doesn't matter. Anyways, I got scammed on that when I was young. I tried to sell my iPod on Craigslist, and like the whole thing went through. This was before I thought about anything. Like I wasn't even really into like tech stuff yet. And
yeah,
like I was like, okay, cool. You know, you're in South Africa. That's fine. I'll mail it to you. I know it costs $40, but you'll pay for that, you said. But basically what they do is, or what they did then was I sent it to them. It was like for his wife's birthday. I put a happy birthday card in there, or a little a note.
You put a card in there? Did he ask that?
Not a card, but like a little like handwritten like thing.
Did he ask
I was just trying to be nice.
You were just being nice.
No, I was just like, oh, he says it's for his wife's birthday, so I'll send it.
He's laughing his ass
That was really stupid. But I mailed it, and but basically what happened was he emailed me, and it was like a request for payment, or maybe it wasn't a request for payment, but it was like some like temporary thing, and like through PayPal it said like pending, $150 or whatever it was, and there were fake emails that I was getting, like basically saying this is what you're going to see in PayPal and this is what that means, and it said it was from PayPal, but really it was just like from like something else, and then the like alias or whatever said PayPal, and then it's like, oh, okay, it says that according to this email, pending just means they've already sent it and it's in escrow until the package gets received, and then it'll get it. But basically there's the whole scam around like these, like they've got this whole fake email system going on and like all these things.
You know what? It's probably worth it. I got two more to go through real quickly. One is that recently my grandma got a call, and I think the basic scam here is find the grandma's number or just find somebody that you think is old, call them, pretend to be their grandchild, and I think they even said my name.
Oh man.
Like, this is Paul, and it sounds different, but they're like, this is Paul, and I was just in a car crash and I broke my nose, so that's why I sound different, and I need you to send me like $2,000 right now.
Jeez.
Which is great. I mean, I really applaud the creativity on that one.
Yeah, they're getting creative, that's for sure.
And then I would be remiss if I didn't mention the things that keep going on under Elon's tweets, where people, did we talk about this before? But people make an account that looks like his with the same profile picture and the same, name, and sometimes it's even the same similar so like handle, where it's like like an I instead of an L, Elon Musk with an I instead of an L, so it looks very similar.
And he's giving away free ETH.
He's giving away free ETH. He's like, this is a day that I feel good, so I'm gonna, whoever sends me one, I'm gonna send them two. Uh, and it got bad, and I thought Twitter kind of dealt with it, but then it came back, and I think even now it's still a problem. And the best one was at one point a verified account was even doing it. Like,
Oh man.
had Elon as the profile and as the name, and it was still whatever guy's name. Like, they didn't change the handle, but I mean that's pretty convincing. So
Yeah. I don't know how that works. I mean, I guess I also don't know how people get scammed on Craigslist, and I did when I was a kid. But it's like that's like such a problem in the crypto world. It's like under every post of anybody in any way related to crypto, there's like hundreds of replies from these scam accounts, and like they've got such a system going on now that it's like there'll be the one scam account saying, "Oh hey, I'm whoever, I'm Elon, giving away a Bitcoin to anybody that sends me zero point 0.1 Bitcoin," and then they've got like all these fake accounts replying and saying, "Oh, I just got my Bitcoin. Thanks, Elon." And like all these likes and retweets. And like there's like a whole system in the whole thread, just bots like creating these conversations. It's like so elaborate.
it would be so hilarious though, is if he just did that sometime. Like,
Just like started actually giving out Bitcoin.
verbatim with the same text was like copied one of these fake reply things and just tweeted that sometime and like really gave out to Ethereum for one.
Do you know Vitalik? He's the creator of Ethereum.
Yeah, people try to be him too. I saw that.
Yeah, so his his name on
Oh yeah.
Twitter is Vitalik, then in quotes, not giving away ETH Buterin, or I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he's like has not giving away ETH in his Twitter handle now because it's like such an issue.
He's a good one to target. I mean, and so one time I took part in an ICO, and it was a big chat room. It was for a coin called Storage, STORJ. Cool coin, but anyway, they had ICO kind of, and it was like, on the minute the thing went live, and it was never clear, like, is this going to sell out in like 30 seconds or is it going to go for a week? So people were a little tense and like ready to jump on as soon as it went live. And as soon as it did go live, immediately in the chat room, like the general channel, this bot that had some name like storage bot or like the name of the company and the logo of the company and everything, but it was actually just some random person that created an account. It posted like, send your Ethereum to this address to take part in the ICO.
Oh man.
And that's like enough, and it wouldn't have worked that well because then some admin person would have just been like, ignore that bot. But what they did that was really clever was the bot posted as quickly as it could nonstop. So it was like hundreds of messages, and if anyone tried to be like, ignore the bot, it didn't matter because it just got drowned out by the bot saying the address.
That's crazy.
And I think they got like $8,000 equivalent out of that.
Oh, okay. I was going to say 8,000 ETH Ethereum.
Oh yeah, no. Well, that was back in the day too, so it's
Oh yeah, I guess it was like 5 cents or something. But man, that's crazy.
it was not that far back in the day, but it wouldn't have been like, anyway. Yeah, it was yeah, it works. It's effective.
Yeah, somehow there's got to be a solution to that. There should just be like, I don't know. I think this just goes back to like the trust issue in social media. There needs to be some way for like, if enough people report this as spam, okay, fine. Maybe there's lots of legal stuff around removing things, but at least put a little like thing on there that says, hey, this has been reported a bunch. Maybe be careful.
Well, I wonder if they just what seems like it'd be easy to me is don't let people have the name of people, or yeah, don't let other accounts have names that look like these names and pictures that look like these pictures.
Oh yeah.
And of course, like if they make it exact, you could just change one pixel. But I mean, aren't there like things that you can tell if an image is like 90% the same image?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Like if anybody replies to somebody else that has an image within like 90%.
Oh yeah, I was thinking they would just particularly call out, Elon and Vitalik, but I guess you could just say like, don't let anyone reply with an exactly similar or a nearly similar profile. Well, name would be tricky, but picture you could do. You could do the picture thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems like a very simple solution, and you just came up with that on the top of your head while we were
There we
talking
go.
about it. Surely
Boom.
Twitter's got people thinking about this.
Yeah, that's what I never understand. Like, how many millions of dollars do you have, Twitter? You have like a whole guy for this, probably a team, and like, how is that not implemented same day? What are they doing?
I know. Well, we've already got, what is it? We've got the CEO of Spotify listening. We've got, so I'm sure Twitter's listening too.
The big ones. So it's our only listeners.
Yeah, but they're avid listeners. Lots of tweets coming our way, probably.
Hey, at Jack. I like that. This turned into kind of a heist episode, a little bit.
Yeah.
Or a scam.
Yeah, I like those kinds of things. Like, that's why I like poker so much. Because it's like you get to do that legally. Like, trick people.
You've seen 21, right? Which is like a true story.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good movie.
Do you know how to count cards?
No. I had a friend that did. I don't know. Does it even require like that much math ability?
No, you just need to know as long as you can add and subtract one.
Oh, yeah. So there you go.
It's very simple. It's just like taxing and also. So, like, okay. So, I guess we can talk about card counting for a second. So, in blackjack, basically what you do is when you have a high card, I forget like the plus or minus, but the idea is when you have a high card, you add one. When it's a low card, you subtract one to your total. And when it's like in the middle, it's a 0. You don't do anything. And when the count is really low, so maybe the count's like -13, that's just like through all the hands. You know that the deck is now heavy in high cards. So if you get like a jack, if you get like maybe like an 8-3, you're like, okay, we're heavy in high cards, so I'm going to hit because it's most likely that I'm going to get a 10 or higher to make this 21. So that's what you do. But the problem is that they use 6 decks. So you have to make sure you only go to places that use less decks. Otherwise, you need to stay there longer until the count is more weighted. But they also reshuffle the cards every so often. So you've got to go to a specific place that's not only not very many decks, but also they don't shuffle very often. And then you only have like a window of when you can actually start using the count because you've got to establish the count. So they're like, it's like actually doing it, like the method of doing it is simple, but like in practice, it's like a lot of work and you've got to like really put time into it.
But in the movie, it's like a group, right? So is this?
Yeah, so they have like a whole system. So in the movie, what they did was they have lots of counters. So lots of people counting, staying at tables for a very long time. They would signal what the count is, or they would signal and say, this is a hot table, the count's really low or really high or whatever. Like, I don't remember the plus or minus, which way it goes for high or low, but like this is a table that's ready to be like have money won at it. So they would call the person over, they would pretend to be drunk, and then they would like know exactly what to do, and they would get out of there in like 6 hands after they won a bunch of money. So they're like the counters and the players.
I thought that there were multiple people at a table for a while. No, it's just one, and they call over.
Yeah, so there's one person.
Oh, okay.
At many tables, and then once they find a good table, they'll call over the person that actually wins all the money, and then they split the money at the end.
Well, see, surely it cannot be illegal to just keep a count in your head, right?
No, it's not illegal. So that's why casinos hate it, because it can't be illegal. But they can ban you from coming to the casino.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like a pretty broken game.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you use lots of decks. Why don't they just use 20 decks? I mean, what's the 6 limit? Why doesn't everyone use?
There might be more. It's never like 20, but maybe at a certain point it like becomes difficult because, okay, now I'm hitting and I've got 6 2s in a row because there's so many decks in here. So it like kind of changes the game a little bit the more decks you add, because say like I have a 16, but I know that like all the 5s are out.
Yeah.
I don't know. It changes.
Okay.
The game a little bit.
On the like number theory stuff, I have kind of a fun observation that I made today, and this is just how numbers work, how math works, but I think it's cool. So you know how like there's bits and it's basically 0 or 1,
Mm-hmm.
and if you have 8 bits, so 8 bits is like 8 light switches basically. They can just be on or off, and that's what kind of computers are like built on. For like I think it's arbitrary. I think you could do 7 or 9 or whatever, but 8 kind of worked out nicely with I don't know, it's easily divisible.
Well, no, it's eight because um, when you do counting, it's got to be. Oh no, you're talking about places. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, well, there's just 8 bits in a byte, basically. I'm
Okay,
saying,
no,
like,
yeah,
what's
I was
the.
thinking of something else.
And I feel like that just because 8 is really divisible is probably what the reason was there. I don't know. But, yeah, so if you've got 8 bits that have two possible positions, you've got, what, 256 possibilities, right? So 1 byte, which is 8 bits, can be essentially one character because there's around there's like 100-ish characters on a keyboard, but then there's some others like allocated for other symbols and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I did the math on it because I was curious, and I came up with, so if you have 33 light switches, or you know or 33 bits essentially, or little like toggle switches or whatever, that is enough to represent, like, have a unique identifier for each person on the planet, because it comes out to like 9 billion or something, um, possible permutations.
36, you said?
33. At 33, you start to have over like 8 billion possibilities. So it's just crazy that, like, you line up 33 switches or light switches, which not even on a computer level is like easily fits on a desk and is really simple. And
Yeah.
you could flick those switches to represent anyone on the planet, basically, just as a unique number assigned to them, essentially.
Yeah. Binary just in general is really interesting because it's like such a simple thing, uh, but it's what makes like all computing possible, basically by having the option of on off. And that's really interesting.
And this is where cryptocurrency gets. I mean, that's the power of it. So you have like 64, or what is it normally? A 32-bit, um, right? Is that what 32-bit private key? And out of that, you've got some
Yeah, I think
ridiculous
so.
possibility of combinations or something. So, and it's just really interesting how that works out.
The reason it needs to be so what it is so I forget all the terms.
Or sorry, I think it's 64-bit.
It might be 64-bit. I forget all the terms though, but it's like I think 64-bit would be, yeah. I don't know. This has been so long ago, but I guess I'll just explain what I was trying to get to that it reminded me of, even though this isn't really what that is. But I guess the way I'll just like talk about the way binary works, just because I think it's interesting. So it's like, so you have the options of on off, and you have all the places for it. So your options are like basically just sums of values, and each, I think it's the bits. I think that's what the word for it is. But say you have 4 bits, but in this way, I'll just keep saying 4 places. So you have 4 places for a 1 or a 0. And if it's in the first place, that's a 1. If it's in the second place, that's a 2. And then it doubles every time. So it goes 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. And that's why they're all, that's why like memory is in that way. Because every time you add an option, it doubles the previous value. So if you like have an 8-bit, we'll just make it smaller so I can do the math in my head. So say your phone is like 3 bits. That's 1, 2, 4. So that's 4, gigabytes or whatever. If you were to like take that to the next 0, that would be 8. If you take that to the next 0, that would be 16, and so on.
Right. Yeah.
But then you can also get all the numbers in between because you have the values of the previous ones. So like if you have 3 places, if it's 1, 0, 0, that's a 1. If it's 0, 1, 0, that's a 2. 0, 0, 1 is a 3, or is a 4. And then you can do all the sums in between there. That was probably a really bad way of explaining that. We can probably cut it all out.
Yeah, it's good.
But like, I think it's just like, I just find it fascinating that just that simple concept of like, we found a way to make on off like equal to a value. So now we can like make these values equal other things, and then we can like assign those to other things, and it's just big snowball of like, okay, now we can have like super intelligence.
Yeah. I'm still struggling to get where like a logic gate, how that really happens, but it does. So
Yeah, well, that's hardware, but
yeah, but like I don't know. I don't have a great grasp on like where actual like Boolean type stuff starts to happen.
yeah, I took classes on all this in college, and like I only like vaguely remember them. So like I took a hardware course where we had to learn about like we had to like basically build circuits using and or like all these different gates and like have it do something. I wish I could like explain exactly what they all were, but I have like this faint memory of it now.
Mm-hmm.
I need to look back into it because that stuff's really interesting. I was on another podcast called People in Tech, which is an interesting podcast, also published on Anchor. So if anybody wants to check that out, but yeah, I was on that. And then also just in general, if you guys want to know anything about what we talked about today, all links will be in the show notes, along with a link to that episode, and along with how to support us through iTunes reviews and contacting us on Twitter and all of that. So that's my spiel, as elegant as it was.